Welcome to the deep dive. It's pretty wild how fast AI is moving, isn't it? I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were looking at like basic chatbots,
Yeah.
and now we're talking about systems that seem like they can, almost think.
It's incredible. And right at the center of it all, the constant thing is language.
Yeah.
How we actually talk to these things, how we direct them.
Exactly, language. And if you really want to get the most out of that, especially for these new AI agents that are popping up everywhere,
Mhm.
there's this skill, right?
Right.
Prompt engineering.
Absolutely. That's the key. Prompt engineering.
It sounds maybe a bit technical, prompt engineering, but
Sure.
fundamentally it's just about how we write the text, the input we give these AI models, these LLMs,
Right.
to get them to do what we actually want. It's like finding the right words almost.
Yeah, the magic words, basically.
Yeah.
And for you listening, if you want to get up to speed quickly, but, properly understand it.
Right.
Well, that's what we're aiming for in this deep dive.
Right. We want to explore this whole area, give you the essentials without it feeling totally overwhelming.
Exactly. Our mission today is pretty clear. Dig into prompt engineering, especially how it relates to this boom in AI agents. We're using current research, stuff from around now, May 2025.
Think of it like maybe a grad level peek into something that's moving super fast.
And what's really surprising, I think, is just how subtle it can be. It's not just what you ask, but the tiny details of how you ask it. That can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I bet there are going to be some real aha moments here.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's dig in. Prompt engineering. It's got to be more than just typing a question into Google.
Oh, way more. It's really an iterative thing. You try something, see what happens, adjust. It blends like understanding language, thinking logically, and sometimes knowing a bit about the topic you're asking about.
So it's like learning to communicate effectively, but your conversation partner is this AI. You have to sort of understand how it thinks, or at least how it processes things.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. You're learning its language, using our language as the instructions.
Okay, so when we're doing this effective prompt engineering, what are the main goals? What are we actually trying to achieve?
Well, there are a few core things. Number one is accuracy, obviously.
Yeah.
Getting the right answer, but also controlling how specific it is.
Right, like how much detail you want.
Exactly. And shaping the tone, the style, making sure it doesn't sound, weirdly robotic if you don't want it to.
Okay.
And importantly, trying to reduce bias in the output. Plus, just making the whole process efficient.
Yeah.
Getting what you need without tons of back and forth.
It sounds like you're constantly refining. You mentioned understanding the model. Does that mean we need, like, a PhD in computer science?
No, definitely not. But having a general sense of how they work helps. Like knowing they learn from huge amounts of text, and that text might have biases or gaps.
Oh, okay.
It just helps you anticipate limitations.
Sure.
Think of it like knowing your tools. And yeah, it's changing all the time, so you got to be willing to experiment.
All right, stay curious. Okay, so we know what it is, why it matters. Let's get practical. What are some of the basic ways people actually do prompt engineering?
Okay, so the most basic is probably zero-shot prompting.
Zero shot.
Yeah. You basically just ask the model to do something without giving it any examples in the prompt itself. Like, translate this sentence to French, or summarize this paragraph in one sentence.
So you're just relying on what it already knows from its training?
Exactly. It shows you its baseline ability, how well it can follow a simple command based on everything it learned before. Clarity is key here, obviously.
Okay, makes sense. Testing the waters, what's the next step up from that?
That would be few-shot prompting. So here, you actually give a couple of examples right in the prompt.
Okay, like showing it what you mean.
Precisely. You demonstrate the task or the format you want. Maybe you give it 2 movie titles and your desired emoji summary. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then you give it a third title and ask it for the emoji summary.
Gotcha, so it sees the pattern. Title emojis.
Exactly. It learns the pattern from those few examples. This really helps for, novel tasks or when you need a very specific output style that it might not guess on its own.
Okay, providing examples as a guide. What about just being super, super clear in the instructions themselves?
Well, that leads us right into instruction prompting. This is all about being really explicit, specifying length, format, tone, what points to cover.
So instead of just write about earbuds, it's more like write a 100-word product description for these wireless earbuds, focusing on battery life and noise cancellation using an enthusiastic tone.
Perfect example. The clearer you are, the better the chance you get exactly what you envisioned. And then there's another interesting one, role prompting.
Role prompting, like telling the AI to pretend it's someone.
Yeah, pretty much. You assign it a persona. You are a budget travel writer specializing in Southeast Asia. Suggest a 3-day itinerary for Bangkok, focusing on street food and local markets.
Ah, I see. So it adopts that persona.
Right. And the response becomes much more targeted, much more contextually relevant, because it's sort of thinking from that assigned perspective.
Okay, these basics, zero shot, few shot, instruction, role prompting, that already gives a much clearer picture. But you mentioned more advanced stuff too. What's on the cutting edge?
Yeah, things get pretty interesting. One big one is chain of thought prompting, or Kodito.
Chain of thought.
Yeah. You basically encourage the model to output its reasoning steps before it gives the final answer. It's really useful for problems that need, logic or multiple steps.
How does that actually work? Do you just tell it to explain itself?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You could ask a complex math word problem and add something like, show your work step by step. Or even simpler, for zero-shot COA-T, you just add the phrase, let's think step by step, to your question.
Wow, so you're prompting it to verbalize its internal process, kind of.
Exactly. It helps you see how it got the answer, and often it actually improves the accuracy on complex tasks because it forces a more structured approach.
That's fascinating. What else is out there in the advanced category?
Well, building on that idea of exploring reasoning, there's self-consistency.
Okay.
Here, you get the model to generate multiple different reasoning chains for the same problem, and then you basically take the answer that shows up most often. It's like crowdsourcing the answer from the AI itself.
Clever. Hedging your bets.
Kinda, yeah. Then there's generated knowledge prompting. This is cool. You first ask the LLM to generate some facts or background info relevant to your question.
Okay.
And then you use that generated info in a second prompt to actually answer the original question. It's like making the AI do a little pre-research for itself.
So it primes itself with relevant details first.
Neat.
Very neat. Then you've got tree of thoughts, 2AT. This takes chain of thought and basically blows it up. It lets the AI explore multiple reasoning paths simultaneously, like branches on a tree.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it can evaluate which paths look promising and even backtrack if one seems like a dead end. It's much more like how a human might explore different solutions to a hard problem.
That sounds incredibly complex under the hood. It is. And then there's REACT. That stands for Reason and Act. This is huge for AI agents.
Reason and act, okay.
It combines the reasoning part, the thinking, step by step, with the ability to take actions, like using a tool, searching the web, running code.
Ah, so it's not just thinking internally.
Right. The flow is
Yeah.
reason about what needs to be done, decide on an action, like search the web for X, take the action, observe the result, like the search results, and then reason again based on that new information to decide the next step.
Okay, that sounds like the core loop for an agent that needs to interact with the outside world or get current info.
Exactly. It's foundational. And one other thing to mention, not really a prompting technique, but super relevant, is instruction tuning and fine-tuning.
Right, the training itself.
Yeah, these are training processes that make the models much better at following instructions in the first place, which, makes our job with prompt engineering easier and more predictable.
It really sounds like getting good at this is a moving target. You have to keep learning as the models evolve. It's not like, here are the 10 rules, now you're an expert.
Oh, absolutely not. You hit the nail on the head. It's almost always an iterative process. You try a prompt, see the output, tweak the prompt, try again.
So are there any general rules of thumb, like best practices people follow?
Definitely. Some things generally help. Clarity and conciseness. Be clear, be direct, don't waffle.
Makes sense.
Specificity. The more specific you are about format, length, style, content, the better. Use delimiters.
Delimiters, what are those?
Like using triple quotes or hash marks, hashtag, tag, or even XML style tags. Like instructions to clearly separate different parts of your prompt. Helps the model understand what's an instruction versus what's data, for example.
Ah, okay. Like section breaks?
Kinda. Also understanding things like temperature and top up. These are settings you can sometimes tweak.
Right, those control the randomness, yeah. Like higher temperature means more creative or weird.
Generally, yeah. Lower temperature, more focused, more predictable.
Right.
Higher temperature, more diversity, potentially more creative, maybe less coherent sometimes. Top is related, controls nucleus sampling. Playing with those can really change the output.
Okay.
Using negative prompts can be powerful too.
Negative prompts, telling it what not to do.
Exactly. Explain quantum physics, but don't use any jargon. That kind of thing. And finally, for chatbots, using system messages.
System messages.
Yeah, it's like a background instruction that sets the stage for the whole conversation. You might use it to define the AI's persona, you are a helpful assistant, or give it rules that apply to everything it says.
Gotcha. Lots of tools in the toolbox.
Yep.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly but stay connected. AI agents. You said prompting is crucial for them. First off, what exactly is an AI agent, and why is everyone suddenly talking about them, mid-2025?
Right. So an AI agent at its core is basically an autonomous system.
Okay.
It can perceive its environment, usually digital, sometimes physical, and it can take actions within that environment to achieve goals.
So different from just a chatbot that answers questions, this thing does stuff.
Exactly. It uses an LLM, usually, as its brain, its reasoning engine, but it's hooked up to tools, it can interact, it can make decisions over time to get something done.
Okay. And why the huge buzz right now?
It's really a perfect storm. First, the LLMs themselves just got so much better at reasoning, planning, and figuring out how to use tools. That's the engine.
Right, the core intelligence is there now.
Second, APIs and tools are everywhere. It's easier than ever to connect an AI to search engines, calendars, code interpreters, databases, whatever, so it can act.
The connectivity is there.
Third, we've got these frameworks, LangChain, AutoGPT, others, that make building agents way easier. They provide the structure, the building blocks.
So the development tools are maturing.
Exactly. Plus, we're seeing really impressive demos. Agents doing complex research, managing projects, automating tasks.
Mm-hmm.
People are seeing the potential.
Yeah, the potential economic impact, I guess.
That's a big driver. And, let's be honest, there's also the whole AGI buzz, the idea of artificial general intelligence. Agents feel like a step in that direction, even if it's still far off. It captures the imagination.
It definitely does. Okay, so these agents, they do stuff, they have goals. How do they learn? Is it like retraining the whole LLM every time?
No, not usually. That's a key point. Agent learning is often different. A big part is in-context learning.
In context, learning from the current conversation.
Yeah, basically. The agent's LLM learns from the prompt, yes, but also from the ongoing context its recent actions, the results it observed, feedback it got. This all gets fed back in, influencing its next move. Prompt engineering is vital here for managing this internal thought process and memory.
Ah, okay. So the prompts guide how it learns from its immediate experience.
Precisely. Another way is through interaction with the environment. Good old trial and error.
Right. Try something. See if it works towards the goal.
Exactly. Actions that succeed get reinforced. Actions that fail get discouraged. It's like a simplified version of reinforcement learning, often guided by the prompting structure.
Okay.
They also learn from tool use and feedback. When it uses a tool, say a calculator, and gets an output, that's new information. The prompts tell it how to interpret that output and what to do next.
Learning from the results of its actions.
Yep. And of course, human feedback is often crucial. We can step in, correct it, give it guidance. That's a powerful learning signal.
Mm-hmm.
And underlying all this is the foundation from the LLM's original pre-training and fine-tuning. That's where the basic knowledge and skills come from, which are then steered by the prompts and the learning mechanisms we just talked about.
It sounds like this constant loop. Goal, plan, reason, act, observe, reflect, update. And prompting is woven through all of it.
You got it. Prompting defines the goal, the tools, the reasoning style, the action format, how it reflects. It's the blueprint for the agent's behavior.
So when we're actually writing prompts for agents, are there specific techniques beyond the general ones we discussed? Things tailored for autonomous systems?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the basics apply. Agent prompting has its own nuances. For instance, defining the role and the overall goal right at the start is even more critical. Super clear. Like you are ResearchBot 5000. Your goal is to find the 3 most relevant academic papers on topic X published in the last year.
Setting that mission control directive up front.
Exactly. You also need really clear tool descriptions and usage instructions. The agent needs to know what tools it has and exactly how to use them. If it have a web search tool, the prompt needs to explain how to format the query for that tool.
Makes sense. It needs a user manual for its own tools.
Pretty much. And then there's formatting thoughts and actions. Often you structure the prompt so the agent has to output its thinking and planned action in a specific format, like the React style. Thought. I need to find the definition of X. Action. Web search. Define X.
Ah, that structured output. That must be key for tracking what it's doing and why.
Totally. Both for the agent to stay on track and for us to debug it. And for longer tasks, memory management prompts become vital.
Memory. How do you prompt for memory?
You give it instructions like summarize the key findings from your previous actions before planning the next step, or prioritize information related to the user's main goal when updating your memory.
Guiding how it remembers and uses past info.
Okay. Then there's task decomposition and planning prompts. You might explicitly tell the agent, break down the goal, plan a vacation into subtasks like find flights, book hotel, create itinerary.
Prompting it to make a plan.
Yep. You can also build in self-correction prompts. If you encounter an error or don't get the expected result, analyze the problem, and try an alternative approach.
Encouraging resilience.
Exactly. And if you have multiple agents working together, a multi-agent system, or MAS, the prompts define each agent's role, how they should communicate, and what their shared goals are. Like, Agent A, you focus on research. Agent B, you synthesize the findings. Communicate using JSON format.
Wow. So you're basically programming the agent's entire operational strategy through these prompts.
In a way, yes. It's like giving it not just rules, but a whole framework for thinking and acting, which leads to thinking about, well, the future. How might this change how we interact with, say, our computers, our operating systems?
Yeah, I can see that coming. Instead of clicking icons and navigating menus, maybe we just talk to our OS.
Exactly. Natural language is the new command line. Hey OS, find all my documents related to the Project X presentation, summarize the key points, and draft an email to the team with the summary.
That would be amazing.
And the agents could be proactive, managing your notifications intelligently, optimizing battery life based on your schedule, automating backups, stuff happening in the background, anticipating needs.
So the OS itself becomes kind of an agent, or maybe a collection of agents working together.
That's a really interesting idea people are exploring. The operating system as an agent, or maybe an ecosystem of specialized agents managing different things, security, apps, resources, the UI itself.
A team of agents running the show.
Could be. Of course, there are huge challenges there. Security, privacy, control. How do they share resources without tripping over each other? But the potential for a truly personalized, efficient computing experience is massive. And guess what defines the rules and boundaries for these OS agents?
Prompt engineering, right? Setting the core directives.
Bingo.
It really feels like a huge shift is coming. So practically speaking, what are developers doing right now, mid-2025, to build these agents? What are the current best practices?
Okay, yeah, what's happening on the ground? Well, modular design is big. Using frameworks like LangChain lets you build agents from reusable parts.
Makes sense. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Right. Iterative prompt development is absolutely key. Nobody gets the prompts perfect on day one. It's constant testing and refining.
Yeah, we keep coming back to that.
Tool augmentation is crucial. Giving agents the right tools, web search, code execution, specific APIs is fundamental to making them useful.
Giving them capabilities.
Exactly. Often, developers start with constrained task environments. Don't try to build an agent that does everything at once. Start focused.
Keep it manageable.
Human in the loop, HITL, is common, especially for important stuff. Have a human check the agent's plan or output before it takes a critical action.
Safety net.
Yep. Robust memory systems are vital for agents that operate over time. Short-term working memory, maybe longer-term storage.
So they don't forget what they're doing.
Right. Good evaluation frameworks are needed to actually measure if the agent is working well. And architecturally, many are using these React-like structures, that reason then act cycle we talked about.
Okay, so it's a mix of smart design, careful tooling, iteration, and often keeping a human involved.
That sums it up pretty well for the current state of play. And one of the really wild frontiers is agents not just using software, but maybe building it.
Whoa, AI agents writing code, like entire applications.
It's definitely ambitious and still very early days. But yeah, that's the direction some research is heading. Imagine prompting an agent. Build me a simple web app to track my book reading list.
Okay.
The idea is it could go beyond just spitting out code snippets. It might understand the requirements, maybe suggest a technical approach, generate the front-end code, the back-end logic, maybe even set up basic tests.
So it's acting like a software architect and developer combined.
Potentially, yeah. Again, fully autonomous development is a long way off. Complex apps are hard. But as powerful assistants for developers, that's happening much faster, helping with design, coding, debugging, documentation.
That alone would be a huge productivity boost.
Okay, zooming out even further, where could all this agent stuff be heading long term?
Gosh, the possibilities are kind of mind-boggling. Hyper-personalization seems likely. Agents that really know you and anticipate your needs.
Like a true digital assistant.
Yeah. Democratization of expertise, maybe complex skills like legal analysis or medical diagnosis support become more accessible via specialized agents.
Maybe even agent-to-agent economies. AI agents offering specialized services to other agents, trading information or capabilities.
Like a little AI marketplace.
Could be. We might see transformative scientific discoveries sped up by agents that can design experiments, analyze data, formulate hypotheses.
Wow.
We'll likely see more complex and emergent behavior as these systems interact. And with all that power comes massive ethical and societal challenges we absolutely have to grapple with.
No kidding. Control, bias, jobs.
All of it. But ultimately, it points towards a future of much closer human-AI symbiosis. And some people speculate this path, building ever more capable agents, is one route towards something like democratized AGI, whatever that might mean.
A lot to think about there. Big picture stuff. Can we bring it back down to earth with a few more concrete prompt examples for agents? Just to make it really click.
Sure. Let's take that travel planning agent. Call it TripPilot. It has tools for flights, hotels, maybe maps, calendars. You could prompt it. Plan a 7-day trip to Kyoto for one person in April. Focus on temples, gardens, and photography spots. Budget is $2,000 after flights. Create a flexible daily itinerary.
Okay, so the prompt sets the goal, constraints, and interests.
Exactly. The agent's internal prompts then guide it to use its tools, search flights within budget, find hotels near relevant areas, look up temple opening times, map out logical daily routes.
Got it. What about something simpler, like code?
Okay, a code generation agent with a Python tool. Prompt. Write a Python script that reads a CSV file named data.csv, calculates the average of the value column, and prints the result. Then run the script.
Straightforward.
Yeah. The agent, probably using React, would think, okay, need to read CSV, find column, calculate average, print.
Right.
Then action, Python interpreter, import pandas as PD, dspd.read80csv, avg, external df value.mean, print, rightist. Observe the output, present it.
Cool. One more. Maybe something with managing information.
How about an email agent? MailMind. Tools. Read email, categorize, draft reply, maybe calendar access. Prompt. Go through my unread emails for the last 24 hours. Summarize any that require action from me. For emails related to Project Phoenix, draft a brief reply acknowledging receipt and saying I'll respond fully by tomorrow.
Okay, that seems super useful. It's using multiple tools and reasoning to handle a workflow.
Exactly. It identifies relevant emails, extracts info, uses predefined logic or prompted logic to draft replies, and maybe flags things for the user.
These examples really help solidify it. Now, if listeners are thinking, okay, this is cool, I want to try building something or just learn more, where should they look? What are the key tools or platforms people are using right now?
Good question. The ecosystem is buzzing. For frameworks, LangChain is probably the biggest name right now. It's like a Swiss Army knife for LLM apps, agents included.
Okay, LangChain.
LangGraph is an extension of that, good for more complex, cyclical agent behaviors. Then you have things like AutoGPT and Baby AGI, more experimental, but influential in showing what autonomous agents could do.
Right, the early pioneers.
Microsoft has Semantic Kernel, which integrates LLMs with code, and Autogen for multi-agent conversations. There's also Crew AI for collaborative agents, Agentverse for managing multiple agents, Lamy Index, which is great for connecting agents to data, and Super AGI. Lots of options.
Wow, okay. A lot of frameworks. What about platforms? Like, where do you run this stuff?
Well, the foundation is off of the APIs from the big model providers. The OpenAI API is obviously huge, especially with its function tool calling. Google has its Vertex AI agent builder. Amazon has AWS Bedrock and their agents for Bedrock.
So the cloud providers are getting in the game too.
Definitely. They offer managed services to build and deploy agents. When developers choose, they're looking at, how modular is it? How easy is tool integration? What are the memory options? Is there a good community? And cost, of course.
Makes sense. Lots to consider. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful, but we need the balanced view too. What are the big hurdles, the challenges and limitations we're still facing with prompt engineering and AI agent?
Oh yeah, it's definitely not all solved. A major one is brittleness. Prompts can be super sensitive. Change one word and the output might go completely sideways.
Finicky.
Very. Interpretability and debugging are tough. When an agent does something weird, figuring out why based on the complex interplay of prompts and the LLM is hard.
The black box problem.
Kinda, yeah. Making prompts that scale well across many different tasks is tricky. Hallucinations, the AI making stuff up, are still a problem, especially critical for agents acting in the real world.
Can't have your agent hallucinating bank transfers.
Exactly. Alignment and control are huge research areas. How do we ensure these increasingly autonomous agents reliably do what we intend and align with human values?
It's a control problem.
Yeah. Security vulnerabilities like prompt injection, where someone tricks the agent into following malicious instructions, are a real risk.
Scary.
Computational costs can be significant, especially for complex agents running constantly. LLMs still have context window limitations. They can only remember so much recent information.
Finite memory.
Right. Evaluating how well an agent is really doing its job is surprisingly complex. And overarching all of this are the massive ethical considerations: bias, fairness, job displacement, misuse.
Okay, so yeah, lots of work still to do. It's not magic yet.
Not even close to magic yet.
Mm.
But even with those challenges, prompt engineering is clearly this vital interface, right, between what we want and what the AI can do.
Yeah.
And agents, well, they feel like the next major step in how we use this tech.
Yeah, the potential in so many areas, productivity, science, development, just daily life, it feels enormous, even reshaping our basic interaction with computers.
It really does. And as the tech gets better, our skill in talking to it, in prompting it effectively, is just going to become more and more important. It's a core skill for the future, I think.
This has been a fantastic deep dive. Hopefully for everyone listening, this gives you a really solid grasp of prompt engineering and why it's so central to this next wave of AI agents.
Yeah, hopefully it demystifies it a bit, but also shows how powerful it is.
Absolutely. And it really hammers home that language, our most human tool, is now critical for interacting with artificial intelligence. This is really just scratching the surface, though. If this sparked your interest, definitely check out some of those frameworks we mentioned. It's a space changing almost daily.
It really is.
Yeah.
The future looks like much closer human-AI teamwork and getting the communication right, the prompting that's going to be fundamental to making that partnership work.
Well, thanks for guiding us through that. It's been fascinating. And thanks to all of you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another look beneath the surface. Ever feel like the tech world is throwing this massive party and you're kind of trying to figure out this secret handshake just to get in on the conversation?
Yeah, there's always some new paradigm, right? Some complex idea that seems to be like reshaping everything.
Exactly. So today, we're going to hand you that secret handshake for one of the biggest trends right now.
We're taking a deep dive into AI agents. Definitely a topic that's generating a huge amount of buzz. We've got this fascinating document here, an AI agent prompt engineering essay from February 2025. It doesn't just explain what these agents are, but really gets into the techniques for, well, guiding them.
Which is crucial, right? So think of this as your shortcut to understanding what's really important here. Our mission, well, it's pretty simple. Cut through the hype, give you a clear picture of AI agents.
You know, what makes them tick, why they've suddenly become so prominent, this fascinating challenge of steering them with prompt engineering.
And maybe the big one, how they might fundamentally change the way our computers and software actually work. This essay is our roadmap, so let's unlock this thing.
Okay, let's get into the core of it then. So this essay, it defines an AI agent as something that can operate, independently.
Okay.
Yeah. It perceives its surroundings that could be the digital world through things like APIs.
APIs, right? The way software talks to each other.
Exactly. Or even using like web scraping to gather information. And then, crucially, it acts on that environment.
Ah, so it's not just watching, it's doing. Okay, so it's actively engaging. And what's really driving the current generation of these agents?
The essay really emphasizes that many modern AI agents have a large language model, an LLM, right at their core.
The LLM is the brain, basically.
Kinda, yeah. Think of it as the reasoning engine. And it's the intelligence that lets the agent understand context, make plans, decide what actions to take next.
So the advancements in these language models, that's really the fuel for this whole agent revolution then.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just to give you a sense of how fast this field is moving, the essay mentions a whole bunch of popular AI agent frameworks, like, as of right now, May 2025.
Oh, okay.
You've probably heard of LangChain or maybe AutoGPT.
Yeah, those names are definitely out there.
Right. Well, those, along with others like Agentverse, Super AGI, Microsoft's AutoGen, they give developers these ready-made tools and structures to build their own AI agents. It's become a really active area.
It sounds like the building blocks are becoming much more available. So, okay, why now? What's ignited this widespread interest? Why are AI agents suddenly the it thing?
Well, the essay highlights a bunch of things coming together, really. First and foremost, the incredible leap in capabilities of the LLMs themselves.
Right, the models got smarter.
A lot smarter. Models like GPT-4, they've shown this remarkable ability to reason, create pretty complex plans, and figure out how to use various digital tools effectively.
Okay, so the brainpower hit a critical point. What else?
Secondly, the essay points to the increasing accessibility of APIs all over the internet.
Ah, the connections.
Exactly. These APIs let the agents tap into this huge ecosystem of services and data search engines, specialized databases, you name it. It's like giving them access to a global network of info and capabilities.
God. So they have the intelligence and the connections. What about actually, building and using them?
That's the third key factor. The emergence of these open source frameworks like the ones we just mentioned, LangChain, AutoGPT,
Right.
they've dramatically lowered the barrier to entry. These frameworks provide the underlying plumbing, you could say, so developers can focus more on the agent's specific tasks and goals, not building everything from scratch.
It's like moving from having to forge your own tools to having a pretty well-equipped workshop ready to go.
That's a good analogy, yeah.
And I imagine just seeing what these agents can actually do in the real world has played a big role too.
Oh, absolutely. The essay notes the growing number of really compelling demos of agents tackling complex tasks.
Like what?
Things like doing detailed market analysis, orchestrating complicated travel plans with multiple bookings and logistics, even generating functional code. Seeing these capabilities in action, it really sparks the imagination, drives more investment.
Okay, so we have smarter brains, better connections, easier building tools, and proof they can do useful stuff. What's the kind of overarching driver behind it all?
The essay points to pretty significant economic and productivity incentives. I mean, the potential to automate complex workflows.
Right, efficiency.
Yeah, and augmenting human capabilities in so many industries, finance, healthcare, you name it. That's a powerful motivator for businesses, for researchers.
The promise of getting more done, finding new ways to innovate, that's always strong. And finally, the essay touches on something that's been floating around for a while, the AGI buzz.
Yes. While true artificial general intelligence AI with human-level cognitive abilities is still seen as a pretty long-term goal.
Right, we're not there yet.
No. But the increasing autonomy and problem-solving skills of these agents, it's definitely fueling discussions, raising hopes about maybe more generally intelligent AI systems down the line. It's a tantalizing glimpse,
Okay, so the bigger picture is starting to come into focus. Now, the essay really gets into a critical piece. How do we actually guide these autonomous things? I mean, they're designed to act independently, so how do we make sure they're, working towards our goals? That's where this prompt engineering for AI agents comes in, right?
Exactly. The essay calls prompt engineering the essential steering mechanism. And while it builds on the basics of prompting standard LLMs, it adds these new layers of complexity.
Because they're autonomous.
Right, because you're guiding systems designed for autonomy, systems that need to use tools, make plans, remember stuff from past interactions. It's a different ballgame.
So it's not just asking a question, getting an answer. It's more like guiding their whole operational process. What are some of the key techniques for prompting agents, according to the essay?
Well, a fundamental one is clear goal definition. The essay really stresses how important it is to give unambiguous objectives.
Makes sense.
So, for example, if you're tasking a research assistant AI, the goal needs to be super specific, like compile a report on blockchain's impact on supply chains by next Friday, including adoption rates and future applications, not just look into blockchain.
That level of clarity feels essential. If the objective is vague, the agent could easily just go off track, right?
Totally. And closely related is role definition and goal specification. The initial prompt often sets the agent's persona, its function, any constraints or guidelines. You're basically giving it a job description.
So not just do this, but you are this kind of agent and your main goal is this.
Exactly. Then there's tool description and usage instructions. This is huge. If an agent needs external tools like a web search or a code executor, the prompt has to clearly define what the tools are, what they can do, how to use them like, what input they expect, and what their output format will be. The essay gives examples like web search query.string. That tells the agent the web search tool needs a text query, or Python interpreter code.string, showing it needs code to run.
So it's like providing a detailed user manual for all the tools the agent can use. Got it.
What about how the agent actually, thinks and takes action? Can prompts influence that internal process?
Oh, absolutely. The essay discusses the value of formatting thoughts and actions, often using a structured approach, something like react, that's reason and act.
React, okay.
Yeah. This involves prompting the agent to explicitly show its thought process, then the action it decides to take, and then the observation it gets back after taking that action.
So you can see its work.
Exactly. This structured output helps both the agent itself and anyone watching to understand its reasoning and track its progress. It's like getting a look behind the curtain.
That sounds incredibly useful, especially for debugging or just understanding what it's doing.
It really is. Another vital aspect is memory management prompts. Agents often work on tasks over multiple steps or conversations, right?
So prompts can guide how they use both short-term, like working memory, and long-term memory. The essay mentions prompting agents to say, summarize key learnings after each step to keep the context clear and concise.
So you're basically teaching the agent how to remember what's important for the task at hand. What about really complex, multi-stage jobs?
Yeah, that's where task decomposition and planning prompts come in. You can actually prompt the agent to break down a big, complex goal into smaller, more manageable subtasks.
Like making a plan.
Exactly. Create a step-by-step plan for achieving them. The essay gives an example of prompting an agent to first outline the steps needed before trying to execute any of them.
It's like giving the agent the ability to create its own to-do list for a big project.
Yeah.
Smart. And what happens if, things go wrong, errors happen? Can prompts help there?
Yes, definitely. The essay addresses self-correction and error handling prompts. You can instruct agents to recognize when their reasoning or maybe their tool use led to an error and then try to fix it. For example, you might prompt them to analyze error messages they get back from a tool and then try a different approach, or maybe adjust the parameters they used.
That's critical. You don't want an agent just blindly marching down the wrong path.
Exactly. And finally, the essay touches on this really fascinating idea of prompting for multi-agent systems.
Oh, like multiple AIs working together?
Right. When you have a team of AI agents collaborating, the prompts need to define each agent's specific role, how they should communicate with each other, and clarify their shared goals versus their individual responsibilities.
Wow.
The essay gives an example. One agent doing data analysis, another generating the report based on that analysis. The prompts would need to orchestrate that coordination.
It sounds like you're basically managing a digital team using these carefully crafted instructions. Now, you mentioned React earlier, Reason and Act. The essay seems to really emphasize this framework. Why is it considered so important for AI agents?
Yeah, React really is a cornerstone for a lot of the effective AI agents we're seeing. Yeah. As the essay explains, it's this method that lets the agent interleave its reasoning, its thinking, with taking actions, and then observing the results in its environment.
Okay, so think, act, observe.
Exactly. The agent first thinks about what it needs to do, then it performs an action, maybe using a tool to interact with the world, then it observes the result of that action.
And that observation feeds back.
Right back into its reasoning process, informing the next step. This cycle, reason, act, observe, reason, again, lets the agent dynamically learn and adapt as it works towards its goal. It makes it much more capable, especially in complex or unpredictable situations.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've covered the key principles of prompting these agents. Now let's make it more concrete. The essay gives several examples of prompts in action. What can you share to kind of illustrate these concepts?
Sure. One really compelling example is a travel planning agent. They call it Travel GPT conceptually. The prompt would clearly define its goal plan, a trip for the user. Its role, helpful travel assistant. And crucially, granted access to specific tools.
Like
web search for finding flights, hotels, maybe activities, a calendar integrator to check the user's availability, maybe a budget tracker to manage expenses. The essay uses a scenario of planning a trip to Kyoto.
Oh, nice.
And the agent would use these tools based on what the user asks for in just plain English.
So I could just say, plan a 5-day trip to Kyoto for me next month, budget's around $2,000, and the agent would use its tools and reasoning to cook up an itinerary.
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Another good example, maybe simpler but very illustrative, is a simple code generation and execution agent.
Okay.
This one really shows that thought action observation cycle from React. Imagine asking it for the sum of the first 10 prime numbers.
Right.
The agent would first think, okay, how do I calculate primes? How do I sum them?
Yeah.
Then take the action, use the Python RDPL tool to actually run the code, then observe the number that comes back, and finally present that result.
That's a really clear way to see how it reasons, acts, and learns from the outcome. What other kinds of practical examples does the essay give?
There's an interesting one for an email triage and action agent called MailMind.
Ooh, managing email. Yes, please.
Right. This agent is designed to manage a user's inbox. The prompt sets its goal process emails efficiently and gives it tools like read email, categorize email, draft reply, schedule meeting.
So it could?
The example shows how it could read an email, figure out what category it belongs in, maybe draft a potential reply based on the content, and even schedule a follow-up meeting if needed, all with, hopefully, minimal human input.
Wow, that's like having a super efficient digital assistant just for your communications. That's cool. And you mentioned one last example. That sounded pretty ambitious.
Yeah, that one's more conceptual, but it's a conceptual app-building agent.
Building apps. Seriously.
Well, it outlines a scenario where an agent is tasked with building a basic to-do list web app. The prompt would give the user's requirements in natural language.
And the agent would.
Theoretically, yeah. It would then go through the stages. Selecting technologies, designing a database structure, generating the actual code front end, back end, maybe even providing instructions on how to deploy it, using tools like a code interpreter, maybe file system access.
Okay, that's a huge leap in complexity. From managing email to the concept of building entire applications from natural language, it really underscores the kind of transformative potential we're talking about here.
Definitely.
Now, the essay also looks ahead, right? How AI agents might impact the future, especially operating systems and software itself. What are some of the key ideas there?
Yeah, it suggests a pretty fundamental shift in how we interact with our computers. Imagine a future where natural language is the main way we command our operating systems.
Instead of clicking and typing commands.
Exactly. Instead of navigating menus or remembering specific commands, you could just tell your OS agent what you want to do. Find that presentation I worked on last week about quantum computing.
That sounds much more intuitive, much more accessible for everyone. What other benefits could OS integrated agents bring?
Well, they could provide proactive assistance and automation on a whole new level.
Like?
By learning your habits, your preferences, an OS agent could manage notifications, schedule background tasks, optimize system performance, kind of anticipating your needs before you even articulate them. Think of it like a really personalized digital butler baked right into your computer.
That would certainly streamline our digital lives. How might this change the actual operating system underneath?
The essay envisions intelligent resource management. OS agents could dynamically allocate CPU power, memory, network bandwidth based on what you're actually doing and what's most important right now.
So the OS gets smarter about using its own resources.
Yeah, potentially leading to more efficient, more responsive systems that adapt to your workload in real time.
And what about the look and feel, the user experience?
Agents could personalize the UI, the whole computing environment, based on your needs, your context, maybe even your cognitive state at the moment. It'd be a truly personalized computing experience that adapts to you instead of you adapting to it.
Yeah.
The essay even floats this idea of the operating system as an agent, like a core AI entity or maybe a team of agents managing the entire computing ecosystem.
That's a really profound shift in how we even think about what an operating system is. And you also mentioned the potential for agents to build applications. How might that actually work?
The essay outlines a future where agents could, understand requirements just from natural language.
Just from talking to it.
Yeah. Then design the software architecture, pick the right technologies, iteratively generate and debug the code, integrate different components and APIs, maybe even automate testing and QA.
Wow.
This could massively lower the barrier to creating software. It could seriously augment low-code, no-code platforms and empower way more people to build the tools they need.
It sounds like it could democratize software development on a scale we haven't really seen before. Finally, the essay touches on some broader, maybe more far-reaching implications. What are some of the key takeaways there?
Yeah, it paints a pretty expansive picture. Things like hyper-personalization in almost every part of our lives. A democratization of expertise where complex tasks become easier because AI can assist.
Makes sense.
The potential for agent-to-agent economies, autonomous systems actually doing business with each other. Yeah. Faster scientific discovery as agents help researchers analyze data, run simulations.
That could be huge.
Yeah. More effective management of complex global systems like supply chains or climate modeling.
Yeah.
New forms of entertainment. A deepening human-AI symbiosis. It even speculates about a future where access to powerful AI becomes really widespread. They term it democratized AGI, but focus specifically on digital tasks.
It's a really expansive and, thought-provoking vision of what might be coming.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've journeyed through this world of AI agents using this essay as our guide. We've looked at what they are, why they're so hot right now, the crucial role of prompt engineering.
That steering mechanism.
Right. And their potential to really reshape our tech landscape. It's clear this is a field just brimming with potential and incredibly rapid innovation.
Absolutely. And as we've kind of kept coming back to, the ability to effectively guide these autonomous systems through thoughtful prompt engineering. Yeah. That's going to be a really critical skill moving forward.
So for you, the listener, maybe I'll just leave you with this thought. As these AI agents get more sophisticated, more integrated into everything we use, how might your everyday interactions with your devices, with software, how might that change? And what new skills might become really valuable as we learn to collaborate more closely with these intelligent digital partners? It's definitely something fascinating to chew on as we move forward. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.